Sound check. Hey, good evening, everybody. My name is Dr. Nathan Thompson with the Wellness Way, Yorkville. Happy Monday, guys, and happy Christmas Eve or Eve of Christmas Eve. I know it's December 23rd right now. So I hope you guys had a great weekend. I hope you have a good time heading into Christmas. If you're watching right now, make sure you say hello. Also, if you can, let me know where you're watching from. Um, this may or may not be the last broadcast of the year, but we're going to treat it as if we are heading into the new year. I probably will go live right before New Year's, and it might be a question and answer, but the title of tonight is the 5 New Year's Health Commitments. That's one of the things I want you to focus on. If you can focus on one thing, remember a lot of things that I go over is like, how can I help you not to need my help? That's one of the things I want to go over right now. So if you can, if you're watching right now and you can hear me, let me know. Also, if you can, let me know where you're watching from. I always appreciate to see where people are watching from all across the continental United States, even in like Australia, Canada, Europe, things like that. So, guys, thank you so much for joining me for this live broadcast. The 5 New Year's health commitments. And I'm going to go over 5 different things. Make sure that you watch it all the way to the end because the last one probably will open up your eyes, make your jaw drop a little bit too. So, 5 New Year's health commitments. And guys, remember this, as always, our next in-person event, if you're from the Chicagoland area and you're watching, you want to work with us directly, please make sure that you reach out. You follow our Linktree profile that will take you to Eventbrite and register for our next inflammation event. This is going to be on Tuesday, January 14th. It's going to be a little bit later. We let people calm down, get out of the New Year's haze, and then start focusing on their health. But Tuesday, January 14th at 6 o'clock p.m., this is an in-person event. This is not a webinar, so make sure that you, if you're from the Chicagoland area and you want to work with us directly, make sure that you go ahead and go to there. All you have to do is you just have to go to Linktree. Let me put that on there. So if you click on our profile, you'll see our Linktree. If you go to Linktree, it's the first thing that'll jump up on there. Go ahead and click that link. It'll take you 60 seconds to register, and that way we know to expect you at that event. We have a awesome gift for you at that event. Make sure that if you register, you're committed to going, especially. Okay. So our next event is going to be inflammation. I'm going to explain to you why this is so important, guys, here in just a second. But if you have issues with, with problems with losing weight, pay attention. And I'm going to give you a link in just a second. Cancer, infertility, thyroid disease, arthritis, type 2 diabetes, autoimmune conditions, hormone balance. Now, here's the thing. MDs think that we like treat all of those different things, but we don't. What we do is we build health, and we're experts in physiology. So we know how physiologically something's supposed to function. And we're also experts in knowing inflammatory triggers on what you can do in order to avoid that, in order to start getting your health back. So make sure, guys, that you get registered for it. And I'm going to give you a perfect clinical example. One of the hardest things, and I'll talk about this at the end, one of the hardest things, because people say, would you rather work with men or women? And I'm like, well, men are a lot harder to come around for them to finally admit that they need help. But once they're committed, they're pretty committed. Okay. Now, here was a gentleman that came in and he took the initiative, got registered for the inflammation event, took action and said, I need help, which that takes a lot of courage for anybody to say, I need help. But I want you to think of this. So when he came in, it was experiencing a lot of issues with a lot of dizziness, with brain fog, anemia. He already knew that he had a lot of digestive issues going on, constant sinus infection, pneumonia, so low immune system function, skin issues and eczema, which is many times a gastrointestinal issue going on. ED or erectile dysfunction. But what was so interesting is that this person gave me a supplement list and I counted them and it was 35 supplements. So he set the new record for the most amount of supplements he's taken. And guys, I will say this is that if you're taking 35 supplements and you still have all of these issues that are going on, chances are you're missing a major inflammatory trigger that's going on. A major inflammatory trigger that's going on. The answer isn't just to dump a bunch more supplements in there. The answer is there's nothing more powerful than really identifying what's going on with the immune system. Because the immune system, if you stay chronically inflamed, that's why it does lead to things like heart attacks, cerebrovascular accidents, why it leads to poor digestion, why it leads to low energy, joint pain, things like that. And you will never have resolution if you don't understand and if you don't first and foremost start handling some of those inflammatory triggers. Yes, it can be mold as well. And dumping more supplements isn't going to necessarily make you better. Neither is medication. The medication will only manipulate physiology, but you still have the problem that's actually there. So we'll recommend to test the right things to get him moving in the right direction. That's the most important thing. So one of the first things I would tell you is man, if you're taking that many supplements, you're missing something when it comes to that. So I know that he's missing something major that's happening when it comes to inflammatory triggers and things like that. So guys, again, just to register for that coming up on January 14th, all you got to do is just click on our Linktree profile. It's on all of our social media platforms. If you go ahead and you go to that link and you click on that, the first thing to show up is going to be the inflammation event. When you click on that, it'll take you to Eventbrite and you can easily register. Take you about 60 seconds to register for that event. My staff will reach out to you too and also confirm your attendance at that event coming up on Tuesday, January 14th at 6 o'clock p.m. sharp. So make sure that you are there on time. I start on time all the time, okay? So 5 New Year's health commitments. Notice how I said commitments and notice how I underlined commitments, okay? So I love this quote by Ken Blanchard, and here's what he said. There's a difference between interest and commitment. When you're interested in doing something, you do it when it's convenient. When you're committed to something, you accept no excuses, only results. So I said 5 health commitments, not 5 health interests, because one of the things that, man, is just that just chaps my hide is how we're taught not to be 100% committed to something. If you look at how much people give up or how much people quit, and in fact, my parents are wonderful people. And one of the things that they taught me, one of the things that my dad taught me is he said, don't you ever give up. If you make a commitment to something, don't you dare give up. But I see so many parents today who let their kids give up. And then I'm going to tell you something, this will probably make your jaw drop, but my opinion is if you let your kids give up at so many different things, your child is going to grow up and be a loser. They really are. They're going to grow up and be a loser, and they're just going to blame, complain. They're going to stay the same, and this will translate into their health as well. So notice how I said commitments, which means come hell or high water, I'm committed to seeing this through especially. So what are those 5 health commitments that I'm going to talk about? Okay. Number 1, decrease your sugars. All right. Decrease your sugars. You know what's so amazing is that everybody says they don't eat a lot of sugar, but if you actually tracked how much sugar they were consuming, it would be a lot. One of the things to do in order to drastically eliminate your sugars is to eliminate refined carbohydrates. If you just eliminated refined carbohydrates, holy cow, would people get a lot better? You know what would happen if you started eliminating a lot of your sugars? Probably initially would lose a lot of water weight. Probably your face would get a lot more defined and would be a lot less puffy. You probably give it long enough, your energy would start to get better. If you would just learn how to decrease your sugars, specifically, one of the easiest way to do it is to eliminate refined carbohydrates. Refined carbohydrates. So this is absolutely it's insane how much refined carbohydrates people did. So that's why if you would focus on one thing, one of the biggest things I would tell you to do is to decrease your sugars and eliminate any kind of refined carbohydrates. So what does that look like? Because if you want to, I'm really into making things as simple as possible, But sometimes with some people, and this has to do with the last thing I'm going to go over, you give them an easy solution and they find a problem with every solution. So when I say eliminate your sugars, especially your refined carbohydrates, what does that look like? Well, if you basically stuck to eating meats and veggies only, you would be doing pretty good. Meats and veggies, okay? So focus on eating meats and veggies. And so many people think that they need bread. They think that they need, all of this glucose and carbohydrates and things like that. But you can get your glucose from veggies and things like that. Unless you're doing some kind of crazy exercise where you may need more sugars and things like that. But most people, meats and veggies are going to be a perfect solution for you. Okay. Now, one of the reasons why so interesting, and I've probably have done well over 1,000 food allergy tests. Some of the most common IgG food allergies are, which can cause things like swelling, which can cause things like joint pain, which can cause brain fog, which can cause a lot of bloating within the gastrointestinal system. Some of the most common ones are going to be wheat, baker's and brewer's yeast, and black and white pepper. Okay, some of the, oh man, I just hit my chair and it just collapsed a little bit. All right, let me get back up to, let me elevate myself a little bit. Most common IgG food allergies: wheat, baker's and brewer's yeast, black and white pepper. There's a reason why these are some of the most common food allergies, because this has a lot to do with how much you are eating certain things. Now, there's a lot of nuance to food allergies and things like that, but if you start doing some simple things in order to eliminate the immune system out of the digestive process, people are going to feel a whole heck of a lot better. So that's why when you're talking about a food allergy test, there's a lot of nuance to it, because a food allergy test will show the strength of the immune system response. It will show gastrointestinal permeability. It will show how well you're able to break down proteins as well. And that's why, guys, if you want a lot of food allergies, get stressed, have low stomach acid, and take a lot of antibiotics and get a lot of jibby jabs, and that will cause a lot of problems in and of itself as well. So think of meats and veggies. And here's one of the cool things, because I'm all about giving you guys resources and giving you guys steps that you can do in order to take charge of your health and be committed to moving your health forward for 2025. But in 2025, the Wellness Way is going to be doing a no sugar challenge, which is going to be really, really awesome. So this is the updated foods to avoid, foods to enjoy. And you don't need to look at that, pause it, or download it or anything like that, because all you need to do is I put on our link tree the free guide to the no sugar challenge. So if you click on that free guide, one of the things it'll do is it'll take you straight to the Wellness Way. You just enter in your email address and they will send you to a page that's got all of the no sugar challenge guidelines. So this is really easy, but guys, and again, if I tell people they get super confused about what they need to do, the whole idea is to really get rid of sugars, okay? Or a lot of things that are turning quickly to sugar. And the other idea too is to get sweet off of your palate. So when people say, oh, I need something sweet, I'm like, really, you don't. You're just craving junk food, and you need to be able to get over that. So if you look at this, and if you stuck to meat and veggies, you'll notice that your palate's going to change pretty quickly, especially. So if you go to our Linktree profile, you'll see on there it says free guide no sugar challenge. That will take you to the page where you can get all of the resources for the no sugar challenge starting January 1st. There's actually a whole Facebook page, for that. They'll send you some great emails and tips on how to be successful at it as well. And one of the cool things too that we do, because we're all about helping people as much as possible, but we actually just came up with a no sugar companion book. So if you are doing the no sugar quote unquote diet in January, there's a book to go along with it, and it's a wonderful book. It's going to be available, I believe, January 1st, so that you can order that and have that companion book right away. And all you need to do is just go to our store, and you'll see that the Wellness Way store on our link tree. And if you just type in 5058 at checkout, that way it says, hey, this is a referral from Dr. Thompson, and he says that that's okay. Now, will I get paid for some of that book? Yep. I'll probably get a couple bucks from it. So just as full disclosure, but you'll notice that I'm not trying to get you to get anything, because I know that this book is going to be really beneficial for you, especially when you are committing to the no sugar challenge and you're committing to severely decreasing your sugars and your refined carbohydrates for 2025. Okay. So commitment number 2 is commit to getting 8 to 9 hours of sleep per night. Commit to getting 8 to 9 hours of sleep per night. And I've done a lot of live videos on sleep and things like that, why it's so important. But if you want to repair better, if you want to lower inflammation better, if you want to, if you're trying to lose weight, it makes it really hard when you're not getting enough sleep. I will tell you this, in 2024, I made a commitment, not a suggestion. Now, I wasn't interested in getting more sleep. I was committed to getting more sleep. So over the last 365 days, the number of days that I've gotten less than 8 hours of sleep, I could count on one hand. And when I didn't get that sleep, you know whose fault it was? It was my fault. I'm not trying to blame other people or blame circumstances or anything like that. It was my fault. But the purpose of sleep is to repair. And that's why, melatonin is your repair hormone, it repairs the mitochondria of the cells. And there's nothing that you can do with a supplement to replace sleep. But if you want to actually have a lot less inflammation, get more sleep. And if you want better hormone functions, get more sleep as well. So you need to commit to getting 8 to 9 hours of sleep. I would say men get 8 hours, women get 9 hours. In fact, sometimes you might need 10 hours too. And even if you are working out, one of the things you need to do is be better with your time management, but that will also include being better with getting enough sleep, which will help with repair and recovery. Now, you may be saying this, but Dr. Thompson, I can't sleep. I can't sleep. What am I supposed to do? Well, yes, there are some things that you can do, short term to help with sleep while you start to figure out the reason why you can't sleep. But if you are always having problems with sleep, refer to commitment number 1 and keep watching. All right, keep watching, because the biggest issues with sleep have to do with blood sugar and have to do with stress. There's no doubt about it. Blood sugars and stress. And blood sugars have to do with number 1, but keep watching when it comes to stress as well. Commitment number 3, train 3 to 5 times per week. Train 3 to 5 times per week. Notice I didn't say work out. Okay. Notice I didn't say work out. I love how doctors say, you need, at least 20 minutes of exercise or working out per day. But I'm not saying, that you don't need to work out. But what I'm saying is what you need to do instead is you need to train. What's the difference between training and exercising? It's the intention behind it. So training says I am specifically working on things for some kind of goal, but exercising says I'm just going to mindlessly move my body with no intention of getting better, of improving certain things and things like that. That's why I say that you should be training with the intention of improving something. So you need to train movements needed to keep you great at everyday life. If you don't use it, you're going to lose it. Okay. If you don't use it, you're going to lose it, which is why so many people, they want to blame on age, but it's not age. It's just the fact that you're so deconditioned. That's one of the biggest things. And that's one of the things that I do too, is that I don't mindlessly work out. I train, which is why I train on squatting, deadlifting, pressing, and jumping, which are some of the most important movements, because you need to be able to squat in your everyday life. If you can't squat, you can't get off of a toilet. If you can't pick something off the ground, you can't do that. You need to be able to press things overhead. And yes, you probably should be working on jumping in order to strengthen the feet, because a lot of times people have very, very weak feet and they have weak hands. And once you have weak feet, you have weak hands. It's the beginning of the end, especially. So that's why you should be working on jumping in order to be able to strengthen your feet. That's why I'm a huge fan of jumping rope. So I'm a huge fan of box jumps. And hey, if you can't do box jumps, use a shorter box. If you can't do box jumps, then step up. I mean, there's always progressions to every single movement, but you need to continue to train movements that are needed for everyday life, because if you don't continue to use it, you will lose it. Here's what's so interesting. A lot of these things are considered innate movements, meaning they take no instruction on how to properly do it. What's so amazing is that if you look at my almost 2-year-old, he knows how to squat perfectly. And he knows what's amazing. If he lifts something off the ground, he goes into a perfect deadlift form. And I've never taught him how to do any of that, because those are things that the body can innately do. But why can't you do it anymore? Because you've lost that innate gift especially. So you need to train movements that you needed to keep you great at everyday life. And the reason why so many people can't do it, even 10-year-olds can't do it anymore, is because they never train anymore. And they don't train movements that are needed for everyday life. And I know what people are going to say. They're going to say, but doc, I don't have the time to train. Well, let me tell you something. 15 years ago, I didn't either. I didn't have the time to train, but I did find the time once I committed to it. And then my brain found the time. This is what's so amazing, is that if you're only focused on your problems, the only thing that compounds are going to be your problems. But if you're focused on commitments and you're focused on solutions, then all your brain will start to see solutions. I remember I would just rack my brain. I was like, oh man, I don't have the time to do this. But there was a day and there was a time where I said, you know what, come hell or high water, I'm committed to doing this. And then amazingly, all of this new time started to open up. And in fact, I made the commitment to do it. And I said, I'm going to wake up at 4:50 every day and I'm going to train at 5:30 in the morning. Man, that night I was super excited. And then the alarm clock went off the next morning. And man, I had no motivation. But you know what I said? I said, I'm committed to it. It's not convenient. I'm committed to it. I just need to do it long enough until it becomes a habit. So every day I woke up and oh man, I didn't want to go, but I was committed to it. Even if it was inconvenient, I was committed to it. And that's the difference between interest and commitment. Number 4, commit to getting adjusted and to stimulate your spine daily. Okay. So stimulate your spine daily. The spine needs to be stimulated every single day. The muscles around the spine, we're not talking about the big muscles, the big movers and shakers. We're talking about a lot of the muscles that are tiny muscles that are involved in proprioception that's feeding the brain, especially. This is what's so amazing, is that the brain actually is stimulated through motion within the spine. So that's why making sure the spine is moving the way that's supposed to, that it's in a good anatomical position. And if it's not, that you're working towards that. But you need a lot of stimulation of your spine every single day. I'm going to give you actually a pre and post X-ray example. So if you look at this first X-ray, here's an individual that came in with just a lot of fatigue, a lot of gastrointestinal issues, a lot of bloating. And if you look at an X-ray, here's her left eye, here's her right eye. So we're looking at her basically as if she was looking at us. And then the spine needs to be straight up and down. But if you look at here, one of the things that you see is that she's shifted quite a bit over to the right. That's why you see the high left shoulder, you see the right shoulder dipping down. What was so interesting about this was that this was after about 35 adjustments, and there was really no change from pre versus post. Now, if you look at this new X-ray, this was after about 6 weeks, about approximately 12 adjustments, and her stimulating her spine every single day, doing her home exercises. And you can see the change that took place. We're not shooting for perfection. We're just making sure she's moving forward in the right direction. But you actually see what happened, how her shoulders started to level out, how her head started to come back to the center. And this is why, guys, it's so important that everything should have an intention behind it. How you exercise should have an intention behind it. That's why I say you should need to train. Just don't mindlessly exercise. And the other thing is too, is just don't mindlessly get adjusted without something improving in there. And that's why we never are trying to get perfection, but we're trying to see improvement take place. And you see how much improvement took place just within a few short weeks of actually doing the right types of things, the right type of home rehab, the right types of post adjustment rehab. And you can make a huge difference when it comes to that. But the spine should be stimulated every single day. And this is why, I tell people you need to stimulate your spine every single day. And the people that actually get the best clinical results are the ones who are doing that. And in fact, if you don't stimulate your spine, you're just leaving stressors within the brain that can actually cause, remember, if the brain is stressed, it's going to bleed over into a lot of your hormones because it's connected to the pituitary gland, which is secreting all of your stimulatory hormones. That's why, guys, your stimulatory hormones, thyroid stimulating hormones, adrenocorticotropin hormone, releasing hormone, all those stimulating hormones are actually arising from the brain, which is a huge center to perceive stressors. This is why, guys, this is so important. And this is why not everything is just, if not everything is just a hammer and a nail. And that's why you need a lot of tools in order to get a person's health back. I had this conversation with this individual today. Here's someone who had been getting adjusted and also working with the functional medicine doctor for the past year, but she still came in complaining of chronic pain, tiredness, hormonal issues. Hormones are absolutely tanked, lots of bloating, stomach issues, lots of low heart rate issues, which means that's related to the adrenal glands. And there has to be, if you look at this, there has to be a huge, huge immune system trigger that hasn't been addressed. And that's what I had to have this conversation. I says, you need to be looking for these immune system triggers, because if you have the intention of just adjust without handling those immune system triggers, that will only get you to a certain point. Yet you can see after doing all that work, only working with basically one of those triggers, one of those things when you look at chemical, mental, physical, why her life and her health was just an absolute wreck. And one of the things that I told her is I said, hey, you know what? I'm looking at your lab work. No one's ever done any kind of things to look for immune system triggers. I want you to get a stool test. I want you to get a food allergy test. I want you to get a mold mycotoxin test too, because that can be an absolute thing that can absolutely wreck things if you let that stuff fester for a long period of time. So that's why you do have to look at some other things, especially related to what's causing a lot of immune system stress, especially. So you need to stimulate the spine, and you need to be getting adjusted, and you need to find someone who actually knows kind of what they're doing, and just isn't just mindlessly just adjusting without looking at x-rays and expecting some kind of improvement, and give you some direction as far as improvement with taking new x-rays in order to look and see how this is starting to correct and starting to improve. Number 5 is this. Oh man, I'm probably going to ruffle a lot of feathers or rile you up a little bit, but I'm also speaking to myself too. Number 5, stop being a micromanager. Stop being a micromanager. I love this picture I pulled off the internet. You're stapling that weird. Here, let me show you how to staple. All right. The micromanager. Now, one of the reasons why this came to my mind is I had a gentleman, who's done absolutely awesome, phenomenal, lost tons of weight, testosterone getting better, energy starting to come back. Then he came to me. He said, "I'm really having a problem sleeping." And then I said, "Well, I've seen your labs. This isn't a blood sugar issue. This is entirely a stress issue. What's stressing you out?" And he says, and after 15 minutes, we figured it out. This guy was a perfectionist and a people pleaser. And if you want to be miserable in life, become a perfectionist. If you want to be miserable in life and have other people who really don't want to be around you, be a perfectionist, okay? Or try to please people, otherwise known a lot of times as a micromanager, okay? Here's some examples. Now, here's the thing. If you don't know if you're a micromanager or not, um, then this may hit you like a ton of bricks in the side of your head. But here's some examples. We also call this the control freak, or the person who always needs to be in control. Here's some examples that you might be a micromanager or you might be a control freak. Getting on the scale every single day. Getting on the scale every single day. Do you know how long it's been since I've gotten on a scale? It's been 6 months. I haven't gotten on the scale one bit for 6 months, but if you get on the scale every single day, you might be a micromanager or a little bit of a control freak. Another thing too is that you expect immediate results. You're not talking about seeing results over the course of 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 months, 8 months, or a year. You're expecting to do the no sugar challenge and for your life to be completely back to normal in 3 days. Okay. You're a little bit of a control freak if that's you. But here's the other thing: demanding perfection all the time from yourself, and also others. Okay. Now, full disclosure, I used to be an absolute control freak. I used to be a micromanager. I was exhausting to myself and I was exhausting to other people. People didn't want to be around me because I was such a micromanager and everything had to be perfect. And I demanded perfection. Now I don't demand perfection. What I demand is effort. I demand effort. Give me a good effort. That's all I want, because we're all going to make mistakes. But it's the people who never learn from their mistakes. Those are the people who have a lot of problems too. So it's called double loop learning, is give your best effort, what worked, what didn't work, and then you start changing what didn't work and start building off some of the things that actually did work. Now, to the micromanager, I'm going to say this: fix it, okay? Because no one wants to be around you. No one wants to be around you. And the reason why is because you're so exhausting to others as much as you're exhausting yourself. You're exhausting to others as much as you are exhausting yourself. And so if you just demand perfection, you're going to exhaust yourself. But you know what? Other people don't want to be around you either because you're just exhausting them as well. And you're also really ruining any kind of desire to do better because people will be afraid to make mistakes around you as well. Okay. That's why I always will say this: do your best, ask for help, eliminate your ego. Okay. And that's what I expect from my kids too. I don't expect them to be perfect. I do expect them to always do their best. That's why whatever they do, I say, if you're playing a sport, always do your best. That's why I always ask them, I said, did you do your best? Did you do your absolute best? And the other thing too is don't be afraid to ask for help. And sometimes asking for help means that you need to eliminate your ego. You eliminate your ego. You got to get your ego out of the way. If someone is more versed in something, if someone has more knowledge, then ask for help and do what they tell you to do. That's the thing. Get rid of your ego, especially. Because if you look at ego, here's what it is: ego is how you want others to view you. Ego is, I want people to view me as being perfect. Self-esteem, having a high self-esteem, takes the ego out of the way, and the only thing that matters is how God views you. Okay, so that's why I'm not worried about reputation. I'm only worried about how does God view me. God loves me. He wants the best for me. He's cheering me on. I will always try to do things to honor Him in everything that I do, but I don't care how other people view me. I really don't. So just think of this. And I've been seeing patients now for 20, 21 years almost. And I understand this because I will immediately see someone who has a high ego. I'll be able to identify it within minutes. High ego is someone who's always trying to puff themselves up to look better than they really are. But here's the thing with high ego. High ego actually means that you have a very low self-esteem. If you have a very high self-esteem, then you have a very low ego. And that means that you're willing to take coaching. When I have someone who knows more than I do, or someone who has been more successful than I do, then I'm going to say, show me what to do. I'll do whatever you tell me to do because you've done it and you've been more successful than I have at doing it. And that means that you got to get your ego out of the way. And that means that you have to have a very high self-esteem, which means ego. I want you to think of this. Ego and self-esteem is just in contrast to one another. So if you have a very high ego, you have a very low self-esteem. If you have a very high self-esteem, you're going to have a very low ego. And there's a big difference between the two. But you need to stop being the perfectionist. You need to stop demanding perfection from yourself. You need to stop demanding perfection from other people because no one wants to be around you when you're a perfectionist. And it comes down to this: why am I sick? This is the chiropractic principle, and it comes down to mental, chemical, and physical. That I talk about the inflammation talk. The body is designed to be well, but if you have too much mental stress, it makes you sick. Okay. If you have too much chemical stress, it makes you sick. If you got too much physical stress, it will also make you sick. And that's why you really need to be working on mental stressors, chemical stressors, physical stressors. And that's why I've even gone over all three of those things without even getting any kind of testing. Because if you work on those things, I guarantee you, your health will improve. If you're committed to doing it over the course of the year and not interested in doing it, you're committed to doing it over the course of the year, I guarantee you, you're going to see your health move forward in some pretty amazing ways. So here's my final thought. Lifestyle is a habit. It really is. Unfortunately, so is quitting. Quitting can become a habit too. Lifestyle really is a habit. Guys, I've worked out for, consistently for 15 years. And how I eat is just a habit. How I work out is just a habit. Getting adjusted is just a habit. doing home exercises or things, I'll even do them at the office. It's just a habit. Lifestyle is a habit, but quitting, that can become a habit too. Quitting can become a habit, and that's why I've never wanted to make quitting at something a habit. And that's why, my dad said, if you commit to doing something, don't ever quit. Don't you dare ever quit. And that's one of the things that I remember, and I'm so thankful for, because no one likes a quitter. If you're tired of failing, stop quitting. If you're so tired of starting over, stop quitting. Notice I didn't say stop failing, stop quitting, because so many people out there just don't know what it means to be committed to something long term, especially. There's a difference between interest and commitment. When you're interested in doing something, you do it when it's convenient. When you're committed to something, you accept no excuses, only results. There's this quote, nothing could be more true doing that, especially working with people for a long period of time, is I can tell right away, this person is committed. They're going to see themselves through. This person is just kind of interested, and they'll quit when the times get a little bit tough, as well. But guys, I'm in the business of helping people to commit, to get them healthy and well. And most importantly, once they get well, that they don't lose that testimony so that they go back to being sick again, especially. This is why, guys, I want you to be, if you're from the Chicagoland area and you want to work with us directly, this is why I want you to get registered for our next inflammation event, Tuesday, January 14th at 6 o'clock p.m. I know this will be a big event. There's going to be a lot of people there. So get registered early for it. In fact, what I want you to do is get registered for it right now. So just go to that link tree and you'll see that inflammation event where you can get registered for it. It'll only take you about 60 seconds to get registered for it too. And then coming up January 2025, the Wellness Way No Sugar Challenge. So all you have to do, guys, this is some of the guidelines that they've already had put out. But if you go to wellnessway.com and you type in the No Sugar Challenge, enter in your email address, and they'll send you exactly to where you need to go in order to be able to download all of those things. And then also the brand new No Sugar Companion book. Really, really, really good book. And you can order that. You can have it shipped to your house and have it probably by a couple of days after January 1st. But this is a good book to help you understand why you need to be cutting out a lot of your sugars, your grains, and things like that. So that'll give you all the answers that you need as far as why you should be doing that and why this benefits so many people as well. So the 5 New Year's health commitments. So guys, commit to doing this for 2025. I can't stress that enough. If you start doing that, your health is going to move forward. Your health will move forward. And this is why even, last year, why we've done, a meats and veggie challenge. Last year we did, or actually this year, we did a you don't know squat challenge. So we taught you how to squat correctly. You go back on our social medias and you can look at the routine that I want people to do for at least the entire year in order to help, or next month in order to help develop their squat. And this is why we even did 5 minutes of fire, 5-minute workouts, in order to help improve metabolic health and things like that. So 5 New Year's health commitments, not suggestions. Don't be interested in doing, but be 100% committed to doing it. And this is why a lot of people come January 1st, they're like, well, I'll wait until January 1st, start now. What does a day on a calendar have to do with anything with starting new? Because if you're waiting to start until January 2nd, 3rd, or 4th, then you're already losing out. You've already lost because your priorities aren't determined by a day on a calendar. Your actions are determined by what you prioritize. And if that becomes a priority, then start now. And if you need any help, reach out to me, message me. I'd be happy to point you in some great directions, especially. So commit to doing that for 2025. I know, as well is me doing a little bit of traveling over Christmas vacation, over Christmas break. We'll be taking some time off, and I will be away from the office a little bit. However, I may come live one last time, and it might be a question and answer on maybe New Year's Eve or the day before New Year's, a week from now. So if you're interested in doing that, let me know, just so that we can give you guys great content, be able to answer your questions, and to help you start 2025 as being your best year yet. So guys, 5 New Year's health commitments. Make sure that you do that. Nothing would make me happier than for you to start to move your health forward in an amazing way, in huge ways that I know that when you look back at the end of 2025, you're going to look at it and you're going to say, wow, that was really awesome. So, guys, be well, be blessed. Merry Christmas to you. Yes, we do say Christmas because Christ is the reason for Christmas. He is my King, He is my Savior. And nothing is more important than that, especially right now. And nothing is more important than that, than that's what my kids understand as well. So, guys, I hope you have a great, great Christmas. Remember the reason for the season. I hope you have a great time. Enjoy family and enjoy every minute of it as well, because we have one life to live. It might as well be spent in having great, great health. So, guys, be well, be blessed. Remember who you are. Merry Christmas. We'll see you guys next week.